system the way it is now. We don't want to work around it and transcend it. And we're going to have Obama's five-finger death punch coming up. We're going to talk about the illegal voting that's been going on. Maybe some races in your area.
We have David Knight. He wants to give people a little bit of a preview of what he has coming up.
Sure, yeah. Let's go to David Knight now.
Yeah, we're going to be talking to a state rep in New Hampshire. Of course, they have the Free State Project there. I think it's very important for people to understand that they can make change not only within the electoral system, and I think where they're going to have success is not going to be at the top of the ticket. It's going to be at the local and state level, and that's what they've done in New Hampshire. They've readjusted their focus to take things at the local and the state level, and of course, some people do it in the electoral system. Some people do it as direct activism, and I think that two-pronged approach is very effective. I think they're seeing some results in New Hampshire, but it's always a struggle. So we're going to be talking to him in an interview that we taped earlier today, and we're going to be looking at some of the other methods of civil disobedience that people are using.
And we still have a Bev Harris interview we haven't gone to yet.
That's right.
In fact, maybe we'll go to that Bev Harris interview after we see Greg Abbott's victory speech. I don't think we're going to listen to the whole thing. It's probably going to be very boring. You know, a lot of Republican fanfare.
A lot of people standing at the podium.
Who is this right now? Is this his daughter, or who's talking right now? I don't even know.
That's Greg Abbott's daughter.
Greg Abbott's daughter, yeah. Sure, she worked very hard to help get her daddy in. He's been Attorney General now for at least 8 years, maybe even longer.
Just like he is taking care of mine.
So, dude, we talked a lot about Greg Abbott and Wendy Davis. What do you think about one Kathy Glass?
She was a Libertarian candidate running for governor, right?
That's right.
Yeah, I actually voted for her. And honestly, I didn't even do much research. I didn't think she had a prayer, but I do vote Libertarian anytime there's a Libertarian.
Okay, we got Abbott. We got Abbott.
All right, there he is. Everybody bow down. It's Greg Abbott, new Texas governor. He did beat a monster, though.
Yeah, I'm definitely happy we don't have Wendy Davis in.
I know some people that are very sad Wendy Davis didn't make it.
Yeah, like 10 people.
But
Well, maybe more in the city of Austin.
I bet there's some unborn babies that are happy she didn't make it.
Oh, my God.
It's true. So, yeah, he's
making
out there,
the rounds right now. Yeah,
yeah, just making the rounds right now.
Yeah, I owe you.
So, you know, one of the things when they announced that he won was the fact that this conservative guy came out to a rap song. A lot of people on Twitter were very upset about that.
Greg Abbott did, or the guy before him?
Or they announced All I Do Is Win. Who sings that song? Does anybody know? Whatever. I didn't really care, but that was a Twitter meme a little bit earlier. Was it Lil Wayne?
Texas.
Okay. Yes, sir.
You know, one of the things I liked about Kathy Glass was she had an interesting position on homestead exemption, just like the candidate in Florida for governor.
Well, of course. She's a Libertarian. She wants to keep her money so she can spend it on what she likes to do. In my case, is going snowboard.
Earlier tonight, I received a telephone call from Senator Davis, congratulating me on the victory tonight.
I think it's amazing we had the technology to do this, beam it back live with the power of a little phone, a little spy device.
I told her what I want to tell you. Whether you voted for me,
yeah, shout out to the NSA,
or didn't vote at all, I'm going to work every single day to keep Texas the best state in the United States of America.
Yeah, I have to agree with that statement. Living in Louisiana, we always look to Texas as like this amazing place. And always wanted to visit Texas, go to the malls in Texas. We thought Louisiana sucked. You would drive into Texas and suddenly the roads stopped going ka-dunk, ka-dunk, ka-dunk. So they definitely know how to keep their roads in better shape than most states that are surrounding them.
And we are so proud of our teenage daughter, Audrey.
Let's hope she doesn't go drinking with the Jenna Bush sisters. Was it Jenna and the other one?
Generations of Texas, and it looks pretty good. Well, tonight, Texans sent a message. You voted for hope over fear, for unity over division, for the majesty of what Texas is and what it can be. As Texans, the bonds we share transcend our differences. We all want to live in safer communities, have greater opportunities, and to give all of our children lives worthy of their promise. You know, I'm living proof. I am living proof that a young man can have his life broken in half and still rise up to be the governor of this great state. And as governor, I will ensure that Texas remains a state that provides that brand of opportunity to
I was just thinking of an old Kids in the Hall skit where that guy was clapping. Looked like he was smashing his head. Yeah, I agree.
Governor, I will build a better future for the next generation. Nothing is more important than providing our children the education they need for the jobs of tomorrow.
Right, teaching
The
more Common Core
opportunity to
math.
succeed should not be confined to just one side of town. It should be the birthright of every Texas child. I want our schools to be the best in the United States of America.
Let's go to bed interview after this.
There are no second-class dreams, and there should be no second-rate schools. As governor, I will keep Texas #1 in the nation for creating jobs. We will do that by keeping government small, by keeping taxes low, and ensuring that regulations are reasonable. You know what? Contrary to what some people say, businesses do, in fact, create jobs.
And there you go. That's a direct contradiction to Hillary Clinton with Greg Abbott saying businesses do create jobs. I believe it. I've watched Alex Jones create many jobs here. When I got here in 2009, I think I was number 12 or 13 of a team, and now we're getting close to 50. And it wasn't done by government stimulus. It wasn't done by taxpayer bailouts. It was done by you out there supporting us and by us providing the news the best we could. And especially Alex getting up every day and getting on the radio and just telling it like it is. And, you know, I was a big fan of the Alex Jones Show before I started working here. I remember tuning into him on the radio back in 1998, driving down the road, and I hear this guy yelling about the same things I've been reading about. And it sure is a privilege now to be sitting in this studio, seeing, you know, what we created. I don't want to pat myself on the back, but I had a big hand in putting this whole thing together. This is a great studio. It went through a lot of trials and tribulations, and you do not believe what the first drafts of this thing look like compared to what we have now. And it is thanks to you out there, the viewers and the readers of INFOWARS.com and the people who participate in what we're going through, who send us tips and help make us one of the biggest alternative news sites in the world. It really is a testament to what we can do together and really pull it. It doesn't matter about these midterm elections or these other big elections. What matters is that we're getting information out to people that they can use, especially the health information that we bring out. So it really is a pleasure. We're going to go now to an interview that we did earlier today, or it was yesterday we did, or no, it was this morning, wasn't it? David Knight interviewed Bev Harris of Black Box Voting, and she's going to talk about all the voting fraud. And then we're going to have a panel in here. It's going to be Leanne and Jakari, and I guess we'll have David Knight in here as well, talking about the different vote frauds that are going on around the area. And then we're going to go to David Knight in the studio, in the small studio, Studio B, about transcending the system. And I'm going to take a little break, and then I'll be back up later with John Bound talking about the different economy stuff that's going to be going on. Then we'll end it with Obama's five-finger death punch. So we still got about 2 hours left. enjoy this interview with Bev Harris of Black Box Voting. This is INFOWARS.com, and this is Rob Dew.
Well, tonight we're covering election results, but can you really trust the election results? Are they truly being reported? Is there fraud going on? We saw that blatantly happening in the 2012 GOP primaries, particularly directed at Ron Paul. Tonight we're going to talk to Bev Harris of blackboxvoting.org. She's been following this problem for years, and of course, it begins with who has access to the ballot. It includes who's voting legitimately, who's counting the votes. We're going to look at some very simple solutions that you should be pushing for in your area. So joining us now is Bev Harris of blackboxvoting.org. Thank you for joining us today, Ms. Harris. Give us kind of an overview of where you think we are. We've seen all these stories about voting machines flipping from Republican to Democrat. It seems to kind of follow whoever's in charge in a given area, depending on whether it's going to flip it from one party to the other.
That's absolutely right. What you see is, you know, if you're in politics and you want to do something you shouldn't, you know who your go-to guy is. It doesn't matter if you're a Democrat or Republican. The Democrats have their go-to guys, and the Republicans have their go-to guys. And certain locations are what I would call open for business, and some aren't so open for business. So, you know, when you look at election fraud, it's not, you know, some guy, you know, in a control room controlling the whole business. The patchwork, and there's a bunch of different locations. Some are not so corruptible, some are very corruptible. And it depends on who has his hand on the controls. The controls nowadays being the electronic.
Mm-hmm. Well, we have a story that's up today, and this is something this election cycle has really kind of hit some mainstream news media as well. They haven't really reported much on voting fraud in the past, essentially pretending that it doesn't exist or it's only one or two incidents that are isolated whenever it does turn up. We have a story today on INFOWARS.com about touchscreens flipping in North Carolina. Of course, there's a close race there. That's largely controlled at the moment by Republicans, even though it's a Democrat incumbent for senator. In this particular case, it was somebody voting for the Democrat, and it flipped their vote to Republican. But we've also seen in just the last couple of weeks, we've seen in Illinois that's controlled by Democrats. We've seen a Republican voting, actually a representative voting for himself, and he saw it switch to his opponent. In Maryland, we've seen Republican votes switched to Democrats. So that's something that seems to be very easily done. We also have an article up today about how cybersecurity experts said Donald Duck could be elected because of shoddy electronic voting. It seems to me when we have refrigerators that can be hacked to send out spam, and that actually has happened, somebody jacking into someone's home and actually sending out spam, not the canned spam, but the other kind of electronic. You know, as I look at this, it seems like there's a lot of different ways that fraud can come in. For example, who they put on the ballot. There's a lot of restrictive rules that are put on for third-party or independent candidates that the major parties don't have to do. And then, of course, they can also limit this in terms of who gets access to debates. That's a very important part of the fraud that many people don't even think about even before the election takes place.
Right. And, you know, it's a really important facet because let's say you have, let's say you're a Democrat and your Democratic candidate is found to be corrupt, or a Republican, doesn't matter. Let's say that they're embezzling or whatever. Should you have to switch ideologies in order to vote for someone who doesn't have his hand in the till? This is a real problem. And because they limit ballot access so carefully in so many locations, the only option you have to get somebody out of office who's really not doing the right thing is to switch ideologies. Yet, if you open up ballot access to get more candidates on the ballot, you have kind of a, you know, a bigger farm team, if you will. And you don't have to change your entire ideology if the particular guy is not serving his constituents.
Well, it's kind of like the choices. It's kind of like the choices you're given in a old Soviet-style department store. You know, you get maybe one choice, maybe two, if they've even got anything in stock. And that's the problem that we've got, is that they restrict that. Why should we be restricted to two? What's the magic number about two? It absolutely makes no sense.
Right, and so many things that are unhealthy for democracy happen when you restrict it to that.
Yeah.
You know, we're seeing some very interesting things in other countries. New Zealand has got a party now that they've got called the Internet Party, and they have a person who's named Kim.com who runs